A very good morning to you watching. Today is the 12th of February 2024, and yes, yesterday was a very interesting day, actually Sunday, for those that are into sport. Definitely for those that have been following up the African Cup of Nations, kudos for those that walked away with the championship. Yeah, we can't rule that out, much as we are always here to give you business information. Well, my name is Masika Sime, and I'm always glad and honored yet another week. Let's say the grace has kept us alive. Well, it is 2 minutes past 7 a.m. and today I want to talk about something interesting, something I wouldn't say I would urge people to, but then it's something that you could invest in if at all you have large sums of money, or if you want to get a lot of sums of money out of that. And of course, today we're going to be talking about real estate, the real estate market in Uganda, the luxury of real estate in Uganda, the dynamics and the demand. So for real estate actually relies on demand and supply. Of course, when the demand is high, yeah, that means the supply at the end of the day is very low at some point. But then in Uganda, for certain cases, there is always that aspect. Now, of course, with a growing middle class, there is this huge, demand of seeking modern apartments and homes. When in the middle class, you want to live in a luxurious home and good environment. So I think most people have really settled down in real estate residentials, or maybe real estate cuts across. It cuts across residentials. It also comes to commercial offices. Yeah, these buildings that we see in town. Yeah. So it could be sort of real estate. Well, of course, some of the challenges that we've been facing in Uganda, issues of land title and title issues, and we have infrastructure gaps, and of course, the case of affordability for low-income earners. Well, actually, if you have realized, these real estate houses or homes are not that affordable. Yeah, not every person can afford to live in real estate homes or houses because they're quite expensive. You can buy a unit, maybe a 2-bedroom house, or maybe a 1-bedroom house at a certain higher price, because at the end of the day, most of these people tend to own the houses. So there is also something with the infrastructure development, the roads, the bridges, the utilities, which are enhancing accessibility to, and also increasing property values in some areas. When you look at places like Gayaza, it was some place that people would never want to go to, but now it's developing. The roads are coming up. Definitely is where people are having settlements. Everyone is settling there. Places like Mukono, places, yes, some places that people thought would not ever develop. So with the development of infrastructure, people are shifting now to real estate. But however, when you come to look at the investment portfolio, looking at NSS Safe, and of course all the investment schemes in the country in NSSF only account for 7%. So that means 7% of the people are the ones that invest in real estate, those that have their monies in the National Security Fund. Though it is risky, it's a bit risky. Yeah, it's a risky move. Yeah, when you invest in real estate. Yeah, and of course for UBRA, for retirement, an organization for retirement, yeah, 1% of money from the total sector portfolio of occupational voluntary schemes is real estate. So 1%, yeah. So it's very hard actually for a person to retire and they do real estate. Well, it needs a lot of money, it needs a lot of education, but then it has a lot of benefits. If you know your market, if you know the demand of the people. The only thing that we have failed to recognize as people that are into real estate is the kind of demand that people want. What do people want? Are you building affordability houses for the middle class, or you're favoring all ends Yeah, now take an instance of NSSF. These homes that they have set up, do you think they're going to be quite affordable for Muntu Wawansi? I don't think so. So definitely, before we go into further aspects of setting up buildings, even I could say even commercial buildings, I mean, you can imagine some places are vacant. You find it is building has been set up, there are a few shops, and then the other rooms are empty because people cannot actually afford rent at the end of the day. Yes, so people with people in the small enterprises find it challenging at times. That is why most of them, you find them as vendors on the road because they cannot afford rent. But real estate is something, if you invest in, you know your market, you know your people, you've made your research, trust me, you can get, if it's affordable, really, you can get something out of it. You can rent them, you can sell them, it is okay. At the end of the day, you return much more out of that. But of course, we've seen the real estate market in Uganda is expected to reach a value of 358.9 billion as of 2024. Yes, that is in dollars. That is how far we've gone when it comes to real estate investment in Uganda. Of course, when you look back, I think real estate started coming up. People started having a know of real estate with one company that came up, and it was the whole village. It was the whole village of households, and definitely something came. People started having, an overview of what real estate is, and some of them have really invested in a lot. So, and as of real estate between 2024 and 2028, it's expected to grow by 5.2%, resulting into which will have an increase of 437 billion US dollars. So that is what we expect for the next coming years from this year till 2028. We are hoping that our investments in real estate will reach to that. Of course, we can't rule out the fact that it contributes to the GDP, not quite a lot, but then it also contributes to the economic growth of the country, adds on the GDP of the country. So that one, we cannot rule it out. Now, looking at the housing shortage, deficit of 2.4 million with 2.1 units needed in urban areas. Yes, and of course also 1.3 in rural areas. Now, when you talk about rural areas, if you're to set up real estates, the commercial houses, commercial offices, or residential places, you have to consider the fact that you're in a rural area. If someone has set, it's very hard even for someone that has set up 2 units to even get money out of it. Take an instance of developing districts, maybe like in Tungamo district, it's quite hard because people are now in their homesteads. People have not yet opened their eyes into the, in real estate, that you can buy a house and stay in it, own it. But of course, people have this mentality of, what, I want to build my house. I want to take my time and build my house. But of course, so 1.3 is needed in the rural areas. But can it work for our country, Uganda? Because a huge percentage is in the low income. So what does that mean? If one house costs around 700,000 per month, do you think someone in the village, in my home village in Tungamo, can really afford it? I don't think so. And of course, when it comes to urban areas, and of course with the increase, the lifestyle, the style of living these days, people want to be in bougie places, people want to be in accommodative places, a place that you can call home, a place where you can easily invite people. And then that is why we are having a huge demand of houses. Yeah, but of course, for you to start up a real estate business, you really have to have huge sums of money because you're going to invest a lot in building. And of course, the building materials, actually, I must say, when I talked about demand and supply, I meant the supply of Also, we can't rule out that the commodities that are used in building materials, they're quite expensive. So that factor also sets in place as one is trying to budget on how they're going to earn from the real estate. Yeah, if by the time I set up my houses, I bought materials that were expensive, at the end of the day, I want to get something out of it. I have to double what I invested in. So it is not quite easy, but of course with the increased population and urbanization, people are really making it a point that they invest in real estate. Now you can imagine a house like that. You can, it's rare. By the time you search about it and get to know the price, trust me, it is really quite expensive. Because why? These are people that have invested in huge sums of money and they expect, you know, the return on investment to be that huge, to even double. So definitely, if you do not have money in this, you cannot have a house for yourself. Well, of course, challenges, I told you, we have land title issues, yeah, and of course, the growing middle class, and of course, that we have to rule out. So, but of course, with time, let's give ourselves a space of 4 years from now, as we've seen growth expected to reach at 5%, 5.2%. Let's see how it's going to come into shape, because at least we know we're growing as Uganda, so definitely real estate. For people who have large sums of money, you can really invest into that. Why not? Why not? But for some entities, you feel like, really like Ubra, people, like NSSF, feel like, yeah, real estate is just for a few people. Yeah, so it's just 14 minutes past 7 a.m. Yes, today is a Monday, and of course, just in a few minutes, we're going to see what is happening into the press. Well, of course, remember last week we were talking about government mergers, agency mergers that are going to happen in the country, Uganda. Yes, and making headlines here, government agency merger gets cabinet approval. Yeah, and of course, it was given a green light. And of course, the clearing of the 30 bills by a special sitting of cabinet last Thursday now paves way for tabling the items in Parliament tomorrow, and it's expected to bring an end to and for a process that has been stalled since 2017. So it has been an ongoing process, but now it will come to an end. Well, of course, inside the 4 trillion Kampala Ginger Express delays, yeah, that you can get yourself a copy of the Daily Monitor if you want to see why there's been a delay in this expressway. And of course, Attorney General hits out at lawyers over Museveni later to Dolo, our Chief Justice. And of course, relief for farmers after Cuba comes to buy their maize. So those that are into the maize business, the maize growers, what a way to make business this year. So improve on the quality of maize, not the one we've been taking to Kenya. Well, of course, here in the new vision, quite heavy. Yeah, must have something. And yeah, S4 repeaters to sit special UNEB exams. And of course, districts have a week to identify centers for repeaters. Well, wouldn't it be so early? Could they have read, you know, to know that they're going to redo? Yeah. By the way, it's good that they give them chances, because at the end of the day, it's not easy to repeat a whole year. Really detrimental. Yeah, not our days where you used to repeat the whole year. It's good. It's quite a good move. And of course, medics save woman after 10 years with dead twins in, oh my goodness, with dead twins in her womb. So struggling for 10 years with dead twins. Finally, they're out. And of course, multi-billion Tororo Health Facility lies idle over 35 million debt. Yes, so a lot is happening. And of course, government unveils new trillion shilling housing program. Yeah, Affordable housing is coming for those that want to, but will they be affordable as they think, as they say? Well, of course, in the East African, we can't rule that out. Kenya gains contract to put the standard gauge lorry on track. And of course, tough flight stalls Uganda Airlines growth plans. Yes, that is what is happening across the borders of Uganda. Yeah, and then East Africa as a whole. And of course, like I said, SFC schools loaded for good PLE grades. Okay. Quite a good performance right there. And of course, still smuggling investigations into place about Mulago Hospital. This year, it is the one that is making headlines. Yeah, and of course, government announces new 1 trillion shillings program to tackle urbanization. So it is quite ironical as we're talking about real estate. And now it's happening. Well, of course, the First Lady also launched the National Health Agenda. We can see, yes, we can see. You could be wondering why she's the Minister of Education and Sports, what she could be doing in health. Well, of course, medical council wants pre-entry exams for doctors. Well, okay, I thought there was a certain, okay, it could be maybe sort of like LDC one way or the other, but 4 years plus those entry. And of course, Nabanja residents build a 400 million bridge. And of course, they teamed with residents from Mubende and Kakumiro district to build a new bridge over River Nyamugunza. Yeah, so interesting for the people of Kamuli district. And of course, over 500,000 to benefit from Pastor Kayanja food aid campaign. Yeah, charity for most churches. We can't rule that out. Charity is quite good for the growth of, to eradicate also poverty at the end of the day, to reduce on the poverty rates. Yeah. Yeah, so that is what is happening in Uganda currently. Yes. And of course, Parliament, man sentenced to death to 25 years for killing brother over land. I'm telling you, land is one of the things that have brought about death of many people. People have very many land wrangles. I have a relative that was involved in such, and as we speak now, he's no longer part of us. So definitely, at the end of the day, you have to have, in Nangano, you have to have evidence that this thing is yours. Otherwise, even if you have evidence, people are determined. Well, right about now, Andrew is in the field. It's quite heavy out there. It's a very cold, chilly morning, as you can see right there. Good morning, Andrew. Where are you, and what is the situation in this cold weather?
Thank you, Marcy, and definitely coming live here at the Ginger Road traffic lights. As you can really clearly observe, it's quite a rainy morning, and just started just about 10 minutes back here in the city center. But of course, close to the Kampala city suburbs, it had already started falling in the various areas. But anyways, we are observing the traffic atmosphere at this particular place, and according to my whole Ginger Road, where Port Bell Road actually links up with the Ginger Road, seems to be the most congested area, as we are going to be observing. And the rains have just made this actually quite very worse, as you can observe into that direction. Talking about the vehicles that are heading, that is towards Ginger Road, coming in from Kampala Road. The same applies to those that are coming in from Ginger Road, and they're heading straight, coming to the city center. That is at the Kampala Business Center to execute business. Now, of course, like I always tell you, the reason as why we are seeing that massive congestion, we're seeing quite a number of vehicles, and I mean those coming in from Chitintale, Luzira, Bugolobi, and all fighting for that lane. That is the Port Bell Road, accompanied with the vehicles that are coming in from areas such as Nakawa, that is Boyogere sharing the Ginger Road. So all that congestion, you find that there are quite a number of routes shared by those vehicles, and accompanied with these rains, definitely just gets much more worse and worse every the other day. And as I speak right about now, there seems to be a little bit of some flooding that is starting up, because we understand that the drainage of Kampala city, which is quite not appropriate in certain areas, and the Airtel roundabout where these vehicles are actually heading is one of the greatest victims of massive flooding, which leads to heavy congestion at so many times. Now, if we can take a look now, switching our eyes to Access Road, taking a look at the vehicles, talking about coming in from Chibuli, it's also getting heavily congested. You can clearly see the Access Road roundabout, one of the routes that were actually of great benefit for the non-alignment movement and the G77 plus China. So you can see there is also quite some massive congestion right there due to the heavy rains. But of course, despite that, we understand that it's back to school official now. Last week was definitely the beginning, and now this week it's getting much more affirmed. And most of the businesses during school time, they start to operate. So that also explains why we can see the massive congestion that is into this particular place. And yeah, it's quite heavy. Now, if we can switch our eyes a little bit and take a look at Ginger Road, Kampala Road adjoining Ginger Road, you can also see there is a bit of congestion. And of course, on such, despite the rainy day, it seems like I can hear whistles of the traffic officers. They are still in operation regardless of the situation. So you can still see, if you're coming in from the city center and you're probably using Ginger Road, you're heading to Nakawa, well, you are likely to be affected. Just be ready to be patient for just about 5 to 7 minutes before you're set free to head to the different destinations. Now, as I speak right now, the rains are escalating, the rains are increasing, but definitely we are here as a business TV to give you what is happening around Kampala, most especially at this area of Ginger Road. Now, we can wind this up as we take a look at the Yusuf Lule Road. Of course, joining in, that is if you don't want to be affected by the jam, that is across here. You can clearly choose to come and use the Yusuf Lule Road, link up to Garden City, and you will definitely be in a position to go to Ginger Road if you don't want to be held up by the traffic police, which is about 7 minutes delay if you're coming in from Kampala and you're heading to probably heading to Nakawa, you're heading to Ntinda, many of those areas. You can choose to use the Nile Avenue route, link up to Garden City, come out here, and you will be able to reach in time as you ought to reach. Now, the vehicles that are lining up here, of course, talking about those that are coming in from Wandegea, Samba, Mulago, and some have just used the John Babiha route, that is down in Kololo. They're coming straight towards this area and heading to other destinations. Probably some are continuing to Chibuli. That is some are heading to Gaba roadside, talking about Kansanga, Kabalagala. So it explains the absolute patience they are displaying at this particular time. The rains are quite heavy, actually. They are quite heavy. And for those that have already, and remember these rains which start when people are already on the road, quite cause the worst congestion. So we are likely to see some heavy one this Monday morning. But well, of course, the weather center that is in Luzira clearly say that we shall be having extended rains, which that is the meteorological center. These rains will extend up towards February. And the most of the biggest worry comes in that they will cause quite some foggy conditions, despite the fact that on some days it may not rain. So that means that all people that are driving, talking about cyclists, have to be aware of this and the possible repercussions it can actually lead to when it happens. So you ought to be quite very careful. Well, we are Well, that is the situation around the Ginger Road. That is traffic lights where Kampala Road and Ginger Road link up together. But the situation is quite heavy. It's quite very heavy. Also especially the road that connects. That is Ginger Road joining Kampala Road, and at the Airtel roundabout where the Port Bell Road joins Ginger Road. It's quite a very worse situation. Well, at this particular time, let me take you back to studio at plot 42 Nile Avenue, live with Masi Katsume, driving your business.
Thank you for that beautiful report. And of course, it's quite a heavy, a rainy day today, Monday morning. And of course, where there is rain, there is a little bit of traffic, though some of the motorcycles are well packed. But of course, I've been advising motorcyclists, please at least have an umbrella for your customers, because at the end of the day, where they are going to work, they wouldn't want to know whether it rained, whether it was there was snow. It doesn't matter. So improvise so that at least increase go 1K, but at least for the purposes of people reaching to their workplaces. Well, of course, in the 8 a.m. right about now, we're going in for a short commercial break, but we shall be back with East African and international business news. Please do stick around.